and have reported evidence of the ghostly activity, reporting seeing a dark man or a dark form of a man in the projection booth. So that's consistent with what everybody says about Joe and where he worked. So, like I said, when I visited, I could feel something watching me from the upper balcony, but
The Late Night Legends podcast is meant for a mature audience. Topics covered may be violent or sexual in nature and are not suitable for sensitive listeners. Please be aware of your surroundings. For specific trigger warnings, please see the episode's show notes. Testimony shared by guests of this show are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Late Night Legends hosts or staff. This podcast and any linked materials should not be considered medical or professional advice, nor is the information a substitute for the expertise or treatment from a professional. Listener discretion is advised. Watch out.
Legends Internet Podcast Radio Show. My name is Frank Barrientos, United States of America, and I am here with my co-hosts. I'm going on my screen at least. Maria, Colin, Kay, and Tim. We have a wonderful, wonderful topic for you tonight. We're talking about some Idaho ghostly tales with Tim. It's going to be his first topic, so I am very stoked. I wanted to pay everybody a compliment here for last week covering it while I was out. Team made me very, very proud, and I know it sounds kind of corny and dumb that I'm saying it, but for me at least, it wasn't too long ago where I couldn't even take a night off. Like, this thing could not happen without me doing the production side of things. So special shout out and thank you to the team leads, Kay and Joan, for doing that for me tonight. Joan is off, as you can see. We miss her dearly, and we just hope that she's going to enjoy her time off that is very needed. I can tell you that Joan is a person who works so hard and is so dedicated. It is really hard to get her to take a day off. So to everyone listening, let's hope Joan enjoys her time off. Outside of that, I'm going to pass it over to Kay to give us a little bit of our news and upcoming shows.
Yep. So next week, ahead of Valentine's Day, we're going to be talking about incubus and succubus. The week after is going to be Maria's topic, which is
La mano peluda.
Thank you, Maria. And then after that, we're going to be talking about evolutionary horror. So we have some exciting topics coming up. And then we wanted to make a quick announcement that a couple shows back, Charlie gave us the suggestion of opening up a music channel in our Discord, which it sounds like we used to have that. We stopped doing it.
I can elaborate a little bit. What we used to have was a channel where I would put in all of the music that we're using for openers. So as time went on, if you were curious, because we used to get a lot of questions like, what was that song? Just put them in there. And like, after a while, I don't think anybody was really paying attention to that channel. So I was like, I'm going to disable it for a while and see if anybody even notices. Nobody notices. And I'm like, well, this is just extra work. So I got rid of it. But I think that was a channel where it was just, here's the music we use. And that wasn't really helpful to anyone, or maybe not as interesting outside of the passerby that might be curious what the song is. But the idea that Charlie had is much bigger and better, which is that we're going to be sharing our music with the community, and the community will be sharing it with us. So in the spirit of just sharing that music with each other, that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, so if you want to join our Discord and contribute, the link to that will be in the episode description. So come say hello, join a chat with us, and check out some music and add some music of your own.
Definitely. Tim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready to take us in?
Sure, yeah. So today's episode is special to me because we're diving into some of the most haunted locations in Idaho, from prisons, eerie cemeteries with ghostly joggers, to haunted theaters and hotels. We've got a lot to cover. And since I'm originally from Idaho, I personally visited many of these places and have my own experiences to talk about as well. So before I get started, though, I do want to invite anyone who's here for the live stream to say hi in the chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please drop a comment below and let us know if you've ever visited any of these haunted locations yourself. And if so, please share your experiences because we want to hear them. So let's start with one that I think many of you have probably already heard about. Have any of you guys heard about the old Idaho State Penitentiary?
I believe so.
I've heard the name, but I don't know what the story is behind it.
Okay.
Same.
Well, good, because I'm going to go through it for you. So the prison operated from 1872 to 1973, housing some of Idaho's most notorious criminals. It's known for its brutal conditions and over 110 recorded deaths. They stemmed from illness, violent clashes, and executions. It is renowned for its reported hauntings and has been investigated by paranormal TV shows like Ghost Adventures, Destination Fear, and The Low Files. So during its operation, the penitentiary housed over 13,000 inmates and witnessed riots, harsh conditions, and executions. Some of the notable areas that have been investigated are Cell Block 5, which was the site of a 1971 riot and was also part of death row. Solitary confinement, the gallows where the executions happened, including that of Raymond Allen Snowden, which he was executed in 1957. So I'm going to start with Raymond Snowden. And if you didn't know, Raymond Snowden was known as Idaho's Jack the Ripper. Has anybody heard of Idaho's Jack the Ripper?
No, sir.
Mm-mm.
All right.
No, sir.
Well, he was convicted and executed for the brutal murder of Cora Lucille Dean in 1956. His crime was particularly heinous because on September 22nd, 1956, after a night of heavy drinking, Snowden encountered Cora Dean at a nightclub in Garden City, Idaho. And when Dean rejected his advances, Snowden violently attacked her, slashing her throat with a penknife and stabbing her at least 29 times.
I like this guy.
Yeah,
Penknife?
pretty crazy. Very violent.
Did you say I like this guy?
Yes.
What's that?
Colin.
Boy.
Colin, is this your kind
Well,
of guy?
it's a sequel to what I did last week, so.
Pretty close, yeah. It's confusing to me because he was considered the Jack the Ripper, but this is his only kill. But
Yeah.
very heinous.
So,
It reminds me of that scene in Casino where Billy Bats gets killed by the pen. Or is that Goodfellas? It's Goodfellas, actually. Billy
It's
Bats
Goodfellas,
gets killed in
isn't it? Yeah.
Goodfellas with the pen. He's like, oh, is this your pen? No, he just gets stabbed to death with it.
Yep. But yeah, this was because he got rejected by a girl. Pretty bad way to handle rejection.
Yeah.
I think it's, this realistic handling
Realistic,
of
yeah.
rejection.
Hey, you too.
I do the same thing when a guy rejects me.
Dang. So I guess no guy rejected you because you're not broadcasting.
You know
from
what,
prison.
Tim? I think
I'm
that's
married,
actually what's
aren't
going on. She also got married at 14.
Well,
There's
makes
not a lot of
sense now.
rejection there.
I wasn't actually
Like
all that
marrying you
far
on the
off
plot
from
like
that, though.
midnight. Well, the autopsy revealed that the cuts on Dean's bodies had a precisely severed spinal cord. So this indicated a level of brutality that earned Snowden his grim nickname as Idaho's Jack the Ripper. Snowden was arrested on September 24th, so 2 days after the incident, and initially he denied his involvement. However, after 8 hours of interrogation, he confessed to the murder. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death on October 26, 1956. The execution took place on October 18, 1957, so less than a year from his sentencing was he executed. And it was the first and only execution to occur in the prison's newly constructed gallows room. However, the execution itself was botched. So when Snowden was hanged, the fall through the trapdoor failed to break his neck instantly. So instead, he choked to death, suffering for 15 minutes before being pronounced dead at 12:20 a.m. So they say that the executioners failed to properly calculate the length of the rope based on Snowden's height and weight. So the miscalculation meant that the counterweight was not set correctly, resulting in an insufficient drop to break his neck instantly. So now visitors report hearing gasping sounds during the execution chamber, and many believe that it's the ghost of Raymond Snowden.
Right.
Oh,
I don't know that many
no.
people know that when you get hung, it's not that you suffocate. I feel like a lot of people assume you suffocate, but no, it's your neck snapping from the
Yep.
rope suddenly coming down.
like in the,
Yeah.
like in
Well,
the
it
Mummy.
used to be. Yeah.
Yep. And there were many other executions at the old Idaho State Penitentiary, but they were done in what is the current Rose Garden. So at the time, this was
Oh,
a
I want to
newly
get executed there.
Yeah,
constructed,
that sounds nice.
area
That sounds very
that
pleasant.
was done for this. and the only one that they did, which was botched. So not a very good use of the building, I guess.
What were you going to say there, Kay? Oh, okay. I thought you had something to say. I felt like I cut you off when I said
She executes people in the Rose Garden as well.
I was just like, oh no.
Oh no.
He stabbed a woman 27 times. Oh no.
Oh, please don't suffer longer than you have to,
I
sir.
wonder how long that lady lived.
Oh.
That poor guy.
I'm going to put a poll up for this episode. If you'd like to be executed in the electric chair or the Rose Garden, you can vote accordingly once this episode is published.
I like the Rose Garden.
It sounds more peaceful, but
It does.
yeah. I guess it depends on if you want to haunt a place, because then being known as the Jack the Ripper of Idaho kind of makes you good for.
If you had the option to haunt somewhere after you pass, do you think you'd take that option? I might if it was a cool location.
Yeah.
But it has to be a cool location. I'm not going to haunt a bad location. Haunt a prison, that's kind of cliche.
Frank? You're not going to haunt like a Starbucks? What's a bad location?
A bad
Like
location would be like a bathroom, or like even like I was going to say like a prison is cliche, because then I just from this show, I don't want that. So I don't want to do a prison. Sewer would probably be bad.
Yeah.
But if it were somewhere really cool, like a cool train station, that'd be awesome. I could definitely do that.
Like haunt a national park, that'd be pretty cool.
Ah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
Maria,
throw
where
in-
would you haunt? Tell us where you would haunt, Maria. I want to know.
I'm thinking of like touristic attractions. So that way, like, I'll encounter a bunch of people.
Makes sense.
Oh, there you go.
I love how Frank's just throwing shade at Bloody Mary. I hate to be stuck in a bathroom.
I didn't think about
It's
it
like a
like that, but I guess you're right. That's every bathroom too. That's an
Yeah.
interdimensional.
So cliche, Mary.
Sorry, I did Bloody Mary. I don't think she's real. All right, Tim. Sorry about that. I derailed us.
No worries. No worries. I wanted to reference actually how it was documented in an episode of Ghost Adventures where they investigated the old Idaho State Penitentiary. Zach Baggins and his crew explored the penitentiary, and they focused on that cell block 5, as well as solitary confinement and the gallows. And during their investigation, they gathered a lot of evidence where they experienced sudden cold spots, unexplained shadows, growls and whispers, and even captured an electronic voice phenomenon of a voice saying, "Get out." So do you guys feel like these experiences could be Raymond Snowden? I kind of do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, who else would it be?
Yeah. I mean, there were, what would they say, 110 deaths.
Well,
Yeah.
Maybe not of those
yeah,
110,
okay.
the one that was
You gotta-
named.
109.
Yeah.
When you go in there with your Walkman, when you go in to investigate, you got to play that minute. Was it Men at Work that have "Who Could It Be Now"? That song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who could it be now? Sorry.
So
Had
at
a lot
the
of sugar
end of
today.
their show, their team concluded that the old Idaho Penitentiary is haunted, and with cell block 5 and the gallows being the most active areas. They believe the spirits of former inmates and executed prisoners, including Raymond Snowden, are responsible for the paranormal activity. So I've been to the old pen multiple times, and I can say firsthand that something just feels different when you go in there. You know, there's different buildings that you go to, and it's not the same in all the buildings. But definitely when you go into the gallows and death row, you've got an eerie feeling. They've got one of the cells that's still made up with a mattress in it and a TV and clothes. They've got the cell open that Snowden was in. If you go in that, you kind of feel a little eerie. And to me, I really felt a lot when I went and locked myself in the solitary confinement room, because it's just this small little, rocked in wall with a steel door with a little hole in it that you can see out of if they keep it open. And just going in there, you hear the wind blowing. It just gives you it's kind of a chilling experience. So,
Tim, when you went in
for
there,
me,
just quick question about solitary confinement. When you went in there, now I know
Yeah.
you're a bit of a tall fellow. How much headspace is there when you walk in for you?
the door is low, but the room's tall enough. I can
So,
stand up there and be fine.
If you're in the room and you want to look out the door, did you find that you were like crouching down a little bit to kind of giraffing your neck down a
especially
little
look
bit?
out, the look out the peephole, definitely, because the peephole is probably a little above like mid chest level.
Okay, just curious. Go on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's a good question, but it's one of those places that where you go, you just know that something evil happened there, right? You know, whether it's haunted or not, it kind of is up to interpretation, but you can definitely tell places that have bad energy. Have any of you guys gone into a place and just felt like that right away?
That's my apartment right now.
Franklin.
No, it's really not. I used to have a couple of basements growing up, like the one I mentioned in our holiday episode.
Mhm.
Like that basement had bad energy, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know why all these
Lady and I
basements.
just looked at a house that was built in 1872, and the basement in there was. She's like, we're not moving in here just because of the basement.
Oh, you were
Thank you for being smart. If the vibes are off, you don't buy the house.
I disagree. Colin, you should have negotiated the price based on the vibe.
I still put an offer in.
Yes.
That's every
My man.
horror movie though.
Well, and my wife's native. She's part native, and it is built on native burial grounds. It's in Elgin, Illinois, and there's a lot of native burial grounds there.
Colin, you should listen to your wife.
Well, it was a good deal, and I came in.
That's what I'm saying.
With a low ball price. If they don't take it, they don't take it.
100%, Colin.
As they said in the Amityville Horror too. Look how that worked out.
You have my support, Colin.
Thank you.
If you go wild and kill everyone, we'll have your back that it was actually the house's fault.
If it's haunted, we'll just have a party there and we'll just film it.
Can I come? Oh, does
Yes,
that mean it's by
absolutely.
me?
Yeah.
It's a great
Elgin,
idea.
I know Elgin.
No, I'm not far from
That's
it.
where we met up. That's where we met up with the Maybe It's Spiritual crew. They could probably meet us out there too. Let LFG, guys. I don't want to get demonetized. It's kind of late for that. But. So we also have a comment from Joan in the chat saying that Justin, her husband, said that he would buy a murder house for a good price. See, Justin gets it.
Yeah.
Maria, what are you buying a murder house for a good price? Tim, are you buying a murder house for a good price?
I mean, I'm into this stuff, so I really probably wouldn't even need a deal.
There you go.
Maria, would you move into a murder house or a haunted house for a really good price?
It would depend. I don't know. It has to be a really good deal, like nice location.
Hey, I think you and Joan are in the minority here.
If you've ever listened to some of the stories I've told,
Actually.
I feel like if there's something in the house and I stay there for a while, it will pull off of me. So that's an absolute no for me. I will pay more for a house without anything in it.
So
That's true.
Kate was first on our show telling a story where she moved into a barn house, and then there was maybe a doppelganger that assimilated her husband. But
A mimic, yeah.
a mimic. But now that I know her husband very well, if I have an opportunity to move into a house and now I've got two of that guy because I love him so much, dude, I might actually pay more for the house at that point.
No.
Two hunters? Where do I sign up for that? Sorry. Sorry, Tim. Sorry, I'm just gonna mute my
no
mic.
worries.
I'm just gonna.
Just to conclude the Idaho State Penitentiary portion, while many paranormal researchers have provided what they feel is evidence, there are still many skeptics that argue that the environment itself, being like stone, cold walls that echo, could cause paranoia for people. So what do you guys think? Do you think it could potentially really be haunted, maybe by Snowden? Or do you think it's just psychological because it's a prison, it's cold, it's empty now?
Personally, I'm a skeptic, so I think that's placebo. I don't think there's anything. That's me, though.
Could be like an infrasound thing or something too. That does get under people's skin. So
I think really both at the same time is plausible. Like whether you believe in actual ghost hauntings or not, you might believe in energy staying in an area. And when you're really stressed, you give off energy that can stay in places. And I mean, think about these people, especially in solitary confinement, that will mess you up. They've done so many studies showing that solitary confinement is horrible for you. You're having people being executed. There's a lot of energy that's being released by people's bodies. And yeah,
I agree. Like that, sorry.
Yeah.
That bad energy, like it stays there and it might attract more like bad energy, and just people going in there with that mindset, it might build up on it. So
How about you, Tim? How you feeling about it?
I mean, to me, after being there myself, and obviously because I've been there, I've watched the specials, I watched the Ghost Adventures, I heard the EVP that they had played on it. it's hard for me to think that it's not haunted, especially just with other experience I have. I think you guys know, and I think the viewers know by now. I'm a believer in this stuff, you know. So to me, I definitely believe that that there's something there, whether it's snowed in or not. There's definitely something there. So,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Sure. No, it's fine. I honestly, like, I wish it was a weird double-edged sword, because, like, for me personally, like, I want to believe, like, I wish something would happen to me, but at the same time, I kind of don't wish that something would happen to me. Like, I've heard story, like Kay has a story, like, yeah, I'm joking, like, oh, I wish something would happen, but I don't want to have that happen to me, what happened to her. Like, I fully believe Kay.
It's really terrifying in the moment.
Kay is not, listen, Kay is not somebody that is going to be telling some white lies to get on a little rinky-dink podcast, which at the time had like 15 followers.
Pinky swear I was not lying. And it has happened to other people. And every story that I tell you in past shows, somebody or something else has also been there reacting as well. So it sounds really fun, like, oh, I wish this could happen. It's not that fun, I promise you.
I wish that something could happen, just to the extent that I become more of a believer, and then I'm like, okay, I want to get off of this ride, and then I can step off.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll take a trip to Idaho and we'll go there. I've been there 7 or 8 times now, so.
You know, actually, I think Idaho would kind of scare me a bit, just because I tend to be sort of fearful of, like, big open liminal spaces, and out there in the middle of nowhere, like, I feel like that would spook me a little bit.
That's good. That's what we're going for, Frank.
Yeah, I know. Like, I also have thalassophobia, so, like, I don't like big bodies of water at night either. That scares the hell out of me too. I didn't even realize it. My family and I, we went to a vacation in 2004 when I was in high school. We went to Orlando and did the Disney World thing, and we stayed at a hotel in Pompano Beach, Florida, which is obviously it's right on the beach, and we slept, like, with the door open and everything. And I was terrified. I did not like it, and I didn't even realize that I didn't like that shit. I was like there thinking, like, Cthulhu was gonna rise out of the ocean and all this stuff. Godzilla, I don't know, sharks are gonna be out there, electric jellyfish. It's just, for me, it was terrifying. I've never been on a cruise. I don't think I'd go on one. I don't think I would. I might if I'd never have to go out on the deck at night, but I don't know if it's a well-lit deck. Maybe. I have no idea. But I hear some stuff happens on them cruises, though, Tim. That's not always a fun time. I heard all stuff about, like, foodborne illness, people being tossed over. A couple of people went missing on some of those Disney cruises. People just go missing, and when they go missing, that's scary too.
I mean, I can see it. It's entirely possible. As much as you drink on those things.
All right, Tim, what do you have next for us?
Okay. Yeah, what do I have next? So next, I want to talk about the Midnight Jogger of Canyon Hill Cemetery. So
terrifying.
Yeah, this is one of Idaho's most famous ghost stories. It was a story that I was told when I was in high school. So I've heard the legend a couple of different ways. The first says that if you sit on a particular bench at midnight, a ghostly figure of a jogger will appear and run towards you. And if you stay, she'll disappear. But if you try to leave, she might chase you. Second story I heard was similar, and it's if you park your car towards the cemetery, the lady will come tap on your window. And if you roll it down, she disappears. But if you don't, she'll follow you.
Wow.
Yeah. So this one is one that I had heard growing up. So obviously it's one that I had tested out and did, but I went and did some research on it for this episode. And according to the Boise City Ghost Hunters, there are literally hundreds of homicide victims that are buried at Canyon Hill Cemetery, which was founded all the way back in the 1800s. So there's no surprise that the place is still known for paranormal activity at night. And many venture out there to try to decipher its mysteries themselves. When I was there, it does have an eerie feeling. I felt like I had seen some things that I couldn't explain, as well as I did hear tapping on my window, but with no visuals. Obviously, I can look back and attribute to that as nerves. I was a high school kid, so I didn't really have the courage to stick around like I would now. But if I had the opportunity, I would definitely go back and wait it out to see. So, some of the legends that were out there said that a lady had drove off a cliff. She had 5 of her kids in her car with her, and they all died. And she's the one now that roams the cemetery. Others say it was, a lady who died from diseases back in the day. One even had this ghost listed as a man. So there's really nothing that is conclusive as far as what the story is behind the jogger. Just that there is a jogger that does these things.
I think there's a ghost behind me that opened up a Coke can.
I was gonna message you and be like, "Did you really just turn around when Colin opened up?"
I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was somebody on the stream.
And I'm sure you guys all probably have a cemetery in your hometown or somewhere that has a urban legend or a ghost.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would actually like, that reminds me, the one at the cemetery reminded me, we've got this town by us, by Colin. It's called St. Charles, Illinois. There's a road called Munger Road where a school bus of children were struck and killed by a train. The train is no longer in service, but they say if you park your car on the tracks, even though the train is not in service anymore, if you park your car on the tracks and you put like talcum powder or baby powder on the trunk of your car, and if you sit there, the children will actually push your car over the tracks.
I've heard
the
this
ghost
one.
children, and you'll see their handprints in the baby powder. Real thing.
Sounds amazing. I want to go try it.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So for the cemetery, paranormal researchers have tested the midnight jogger story, but no one has definitive proof. Some say it's an optical illusion, but while others swear that they've seen it. So right now it's probably an urban legend. To me, I feel a little bit undecided on this one just because I'd been there, thought I saw some things, thought I heard some things, but like I said, I was 17, 18 years old at the time, so hard to look back and say, how accurate was I thinking back in those days?
Yeah.
Just in general, how accurate was the thinking?
real.
Not just with ghosts.
Yeah, with everything.
With everything.
Terrible decisions.
Yeah.
With
I mean, I'm
terrible.
sure I wasn't there by myself, so I was probably distracted.
I feel like I owe myself an
100%.
apology for some of the stuff I did back then.
I feel like I don't deserve an apology for the stuff I did. back
I
then.
certainly don't deserve an apology. I owe current me an apology.
All right, one of the next ones and one of the most famous that you hear about when you live in Idaho is the haunting at the Egyptian Theater in Boise. So it's one of the most beautiful historic theaters in Idaho, but they say it's also one of the most haunted. The most famous spirit there is named Joe. He was a former projectionist who died of a heart attack inside the building. So the story goes that Joe worked as a projectionist at the theater for about 35 years, from the 1920s until he died in the 1950s. He died of a heart attack while climbing the stairs to the projection room. And after his death, Joe's spirit is believed to have remained in the theater. Visitors and staff have reported various paranormal experiences attributed to Joe's ghost. So people claim to hear his voice and feel his presence. Some have reported chilling encounters and unexplained phenomena in the theater. And staff members say they've seen doors open and close on their own, lights flicker, and even heard Joe's voice. So the most common phenomenon reported is an odd aroma in the theater, disembodied male laughter, and physical touches from an unseen presence.
Tim, can you indulge me? Will you please describe the odor? I'm curious. What does it smell like?
Yeah, from some of the things that I read, because I never smelled an odor when I was there. I felt like I was being stared at, but I never
What's the
smelled
ghost
any
odor like?
odors. And but from what I read, they say they smell like a sulfuric odor.
Oh, okay.
That poor guy.
He must have had gas.
Yeah,
or
he
bad
He fell down the
Yeah.
stairs and he had gas
Convenience.
at the same time. I was wondering what is kind of keeping him back, if anything, like, because a lot of times ghosts will need closure on something,
They have a
and that's why
reason,
they'll
right?
haunt
Yeah.
You're right. So if he just fell down the stairs, it's not like he's murdered and that's why he doesn't have closure. Maybe it's just gas related.
What if he just didn't
Well,
finish
I
the
mean,
movie?
sounds like he loved his job, right? I mean, if you worked at a theater
That's
for
true.
30 years, you can't. I hope it's not just because you have a lack of options. I hope it's because you actually like what you do.
That's actually a really cool story, though. Ghost in the theater, watching movies. That's really creepy. That's amazing.
Yep. Yeah. Multiple paranormal groups have actually investigated the theater and have reported evidence of the ghostly activity, reporting seeing a dark man or a dark form of a man in the projection booth. So that's consistent with what everybody says about Joe and where he worked. So, like I said, when I visited, I could feel something watching me from the upper balcony, but you feel that in other places too.
When you visited, or when people visit, do they play a movie? And if so, what movie was playing when you visited?
Oh my gosh, what was it? It was years ago. It was
Oh,
Arnold
I see.
Schwarzenegger when I remember that.
Predator?
No, it's
Kindergarten Cop.
Wait,
Pretty sure it's one of the Terminators.
Last Action Hero?
One of the Terminators.
Ah,
Where he goes through the screen in the movie theater?
True Lies.
True Lies.
No, one of the Terminators.
True Lies is my favorite Arnold movie.
It's the best
My
one by a long
favorite
shot.
would be Commando. I love it at the end when he throws the pipe through the guy and the steam comes out. It's like, let off some steam.
Let off some steam, Bennett. That's Commando. True Lies is the
Commando.
one. True Lies is the one where he's got the terrorist on the rocket, and he's on the fighter jet, and he fires. He's like, "You're fired," and he like fires that guy through the building.
Some great
That's True Lies.
catchphrases for sure.
Yeah.
It's a horrible movie, but I love Batman and Robin. All of Schwarzenegger's catchphrases in that one. Nice to see you.
Let's break the ice.
Yeah,
We should just have a movie show one day.
We should.
guys.
Heck yeah.
Sorry, Tim. Go on.
No worries. So it's important to note, I guess, that despite all the claims of the Egyptian theater, a thorough search from newspaper archives from the era failed to find any mention of a projectionist named Joe dying at the theater. So the lack of the evidence can add an element of uncertainty to whether this actually happened or not, and if it's really haunted or not. So
Is there record of a projectionist named Joe working at the theater?
yes, that's confirmed.
Okay.
Yep. So what would be more convincing to you? Personal experience? Like if you see or feel a ghost, or recorded evidence? If you see something on tape or video or EVP?
For me, personal experience, only because those evidence can often be
Yeah, it can
faked
be-
or manipulated.
There's enough,
Yep.
Yeah.
even if somebody's acting in earnest, there's enough other people
Yep,
out there that would do so just for financial gain that, I'd have to
Yep.
experience it firsthand to really believe it.
Same.
Currently,
What
I
if we
don't think
consider-
currently in our current state of technology, you couldn't logically consider any photo or video as evidence or audio.
No.
It almost has to be personal experience, because those things are so easily faked with the tech that we have that you could not prove that something is real or not real based on video, photo, audio. It would.
What year do you think that changed? What year? If you could say at what point or what time in history could you say, oh,
I
before
would
it was made,
say-
it could be faked?
So I would also say an important thing to consider when you're thinking that is, how bad can the quality be where it's accepted as evidence, right? I would place the year somewhere between 2005 and 2010. But 2010 onward, 2010 coming forward would be like, okay, no photo or video evidence is really going to do it for me after that. Prior to 2005, though, if you've got really good video evidence, I'm willing to consider it personally. How about you?
I also think it depends on like who's viewing it and when. Like if you look back to like the Cantigli fairies, to us they look really, really fake, but at the time they blew people away. So I think like it depends on like who's viewing it and what the context of them seeing it is. So.
I would say even earlier.
Yeah.
Earlier than that, I'd probably say late mid 90s, late 90s. Because I mean, I've seen some videos early 2000s that I'm certain are fakes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you had somebody that was willing to go the distance to fake it well enough, all you need to really do is look towards like what Hollywood is doing. Even Terminator, you mentioned Terminator. Like if you're thinking like special effects in Terminator 2, those were like ahead of its time, but like that was what was possible at that time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
we came pretty, even practical effects with Terminator 1, like some of that stuff, if you were to do practical faking of something paranormal, you can get it done.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about the Bates Motel in Coeur d'Alene. So this Bates Motel actually existed before Hitchcock's Psycho movie, and it's long been rumored to be haunted. So the guests there report strange noises, unexplained cold spots, objects moving by themselves, lights flickering, and ghostly apparitions. So the usual suspects. The building originally served as an officer's training quarters for a naval training station during World War II. And then it became a motel in the 1950s. So different paranormal groups have actually tried to investigate, but the results there are mixed as well. They say they captured eerie sounds, but a lot of others found nothing. Despite its reputation, there's really no concrete evidence or deaths occurring at the motel that would explain the hauntings. I've never been to this hotel, so I couldn't give you my feelings on it or not, but it was part of this list because it was one of the top 5 listed haunted places in Idaho. There's no, like I said, there's no evidence of the deaths, so they say the paranormal activity seems to be attributed to random ghosts rather than any specific individual. So this one is one that I probably believe a little less than the others because I've experienced the others, like we just talked about. You know, that experience kind of sways our decisions more than evidence, and there's really not a lot of evidence on this in the first place. So, but haunted hotels are a common theme. So,
Yeah.
do you think places where people sleep are more likely to create ghost stories because of the psychological effects of nighttime?
I would agree with that.
What do you think, Kate?
I think it could also be like when people are traveling, you're probably going to be a little bit more stressed, or you're just going to have more heightened emotions. You're really excited. So I think that creates a better scenario for whatever's out there to pull energy, harvest energy off of you. But I don't know. If I'm going to believe that there's a ghost in a hotel, like, you better be able to provide newspaper clippings of at least one person, like a big event happening in the hotel, in order for me to believe it. Like, you can't tell me that Nancy, the ghost off the street, just decided to haunt a hotel one day, even though she died 5 miles away. I just won't believe it.
Yeah, I really feel like this one's more because of the name, right? Because it was around before Alfred Hitchcock's movie.
It's famous.
That they're leveraging that to try to get their business, right?
Exactly.
My opinion. So if they're listening to this, I'm not trying to shoo away your business. I'm just giving my opinion.
Yes.
All right. So finally, let's talk about Idaho City Cemetery. So this is one I know I talked about in the past. I've had experiences here before. I've been to this cemetery multiple times on ghost hunts, if you will. It's also known as Pioneer Cemetery or Boot Hill Cemetery. I always call it Pioneer because Boot Hill is also a cemetery here in Arizona, so I don't like getting them confused. But it is considered one of the most haunted in the nation due to its dark history and numerous reported paranormal experiences. So the cemetery contains over 3,000 graves, many of which belong to those who died violent deaths during Idaho City's tumultuous mining area.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So a lot of old miners. This was an old mining town, and people would come in with the thought of they're going to get rich mining, but there was a high concentration of tragic deaths, and that contributes to its haunted reputation. So visitors have reported seeing physical manifestations of men dressed in prospecting attire, suggesting the spirits of former miners still linger in the cemetery. The cemetery's remote location and the fact that many graves belong to victims of violence also create an eerie ambiance that the visitors often find disturbing. There's also numerous unnamed graves, and dating back to the 19th century, the cemetery contains graves with wooden or iron enclosures, typical of that era, and it adds to the historical and potentially supernatural allure. So, while not officially confirmed, local accounts suggest frequent paranormal occurrences, including unexplained noises, apparitions, and the sensation of being watched. In the early 1900s, over 150 graves had to be relocated due to flooding. So some believe that relocation of those bodies or corpses may have stirred up the spirits of the deceased. So I've been here multiple times. I really want to say that the place feels creepy AF. I've captured many orbs. I've got some that look like they've had faces in them. Camera batteries that we had would drain quickly. The temperature changes were extremely rapid. One experience I had was walking. I think I told you how I took a Ouija board there and to talk to some spirits. Started.
Yep.
We heard what sounded like a large animal stomping through the trees and bushes coming towards us, so we booked it out of there as fast as we could. So yeah, I this is one, and I'll share some stuff in the chat if you want to share it to on the channel as well, or on the website. I've got pictures that I've taken there that people can make their own determinations from. But
we do have a blog. If you'd like to share your photos and story, we could actually put it on our blog. Nobody ever really posts there except for me.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd love to. I pulled them up when I was putting this together and started looking through them again. I was like, wow, there's so many orbs in some of these pictures.
Yeah, we could we'll post it on the blog and we'll share it in the Discord, so we kind of have full coverage for anybody that might want to check that out. We can link it
Perfect.
in the description as well as soon as we put that out.
Awesome. Appreciate that. So, paranormal groups have investigated the cemetery as well, obviously being one of the most haunted in the nation, they would. Some claim they've captured electronic evidence of ghostly activity. In fact, in 2004, there was a photo taken with a ghost cam at the cemetery that allegedly captured an unexplained figure through, I looked at the picture and I'll share it as well. I don't think it's accurate or real, especially considering I've been there and I've taken other photos myself of things that I've seen, and it doesn't look anything like it. So it looks to me like somebody just kind of built something in there. But there have been visitors there that have reported seeing apparitions. Most of the time, it's prospectors. One time, it was a prospector and a young girl standing by a grave in the Chinese section of the cemetery. But there's no scientific study that has conclusively proven the existence of ghosts in the cemetery, because I'm not a scientist.
That one I would be much more tempted to believe than the hotel.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Miners are always mixed up with paranormal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And cemeteries, I mean, they're kind of known for ghost stories and being haunted. And I think it makes sense when you have a large group of people who are no longer living. There's a lot of like Kay said, the energy there.
Yeah.
You got all those different spirits, and the energy can just, I don't know, make things happen. I think. I mean, there's got to be something that puts the things together with your batteries draining, sucking the energy out of your electronics, all the things that happen when you visit places like that. So yeah, it's something that definitely makes me believe, outside of just the personal experiences, but understanding how that energy level works. Right. So out of the places that we covered today, the Old Pen, Canyon Hill Cemetery, the Midnight Jogger, the Egyptian Theater, the Bates Motel, which I think we're all agree that probably is the least likely on this list, and the Idaho City Cemetery. Which one do each of you think is the most haunted?
For me, the last
Yeah.
one. Yeah. For me, the cemetery.
I'm going to say the jail, the first one we talked about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm between the jail, prison, and the cemetery.
But if it's any consolation, I want the theater to be the most haunted because I feel like that's the coolest idea.
And I looked up pictures of the theater. That is a gorgeous theater. Just the place just looks like it'd be better with ghosts. It just improved with them.
Yeah. Very historic.
Yeah, it's a beautiful theater.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. I think the penitentiary and the old Idaho City Cemetery are probably the most, at least in my experience. Those are what I felt the most, followed by the Canyon Hill Cemetery, just from experiences. The Egyptian Theater, like I said, I only felt somebody maybe looking at me that probably wasn't there, which could just be, whatever. I already knew about the story before I went there, so that's, something that could be, bias. And then Bates Motel, I think, not, there for publicity.
Yeah.
Tim, you've been to a few states in the United States. I think it's very fair to say that. Where do you think, or where do you feel Idaho falls on as far as how it compares, more haunted or less haunted to some of the other states that you've been to? Can you compare?
I mean, it's hard to compare because I haven't spent a lot of time. Like in Idaho, I was there for 36 years. So, when you're there and you grow up there and you're doing things and you hear all the local stories and you go check it all out because it's something you're interested in, you learn more about it than, when you're an adult and you have kids, you're raising a family and you're traveling to states for work.
Oh, yeah.
Arizona's got a bunch, and I think I'm going to be covering that in March. But between the two, I feel like Idaho's got more, and I definitely had more experiences in Idaho. But I also, played with a Ouija board a lot more back in those days than I do as I get older too. Had some experiences with that kind of turned me off from it. So
Are there any places that you want to visit still in Idaho that you haven't hit yet that are potentially haunted?
I mean, I'd like to go back and check out like Silver City. Silver City's a small town. I'm sure there's got to be some haunted things there. It's a pain in the butt to get to, and I think there's like 3 residents there if you look at the population. So it'd be a fun place to go see. I've been there before during the day, but never overnight. So I really feel like you feel a lot more of that stuff in the dark. I know the penitentiary though. I've always been there I've been there a couple times at night, but mostly during the day. And even in the day, going on death row and going in the solitary confinement is it's a crazy feeling. Especially if you go in and you have somebody shut the door on you and you just kind of sit there and take a deep breath and imagine you're the one in there and try to open yourself up to it. You can feel stuff.
Oh yeah.
I want to mention that Joan is in our chat and she says, better with ghost is my theory about interior design for my house.
Ironically, even though she says better with ghost, she's one of the people who would not move into a ghost house for a better price, but Justin would, which is ironic.
I think back east, I'd like to go see some more stuff too. Like I know Chicago, I've been to Boston a lot, just the history and how old things are in that area. I think there'd be a lot to go see. I know I've been to some ghost tours in San Francisco before, which were pretty cool. I watched a skeleton key like turn over in somebody's hand on one of the tours. So, a lot of cool things, but just from personal experiences and doing things that aren't part of a group, as much as, me and some people that I'm close with, where I've done most of that in Idaho.
Everything in Chicago is haunted. There's so many tours. Chicago's been around for a long time. People in this city, they don't care. They're like, oh, this is a cemetery. Let's just, build over the cemetery. Yeah. They've done stuff like that. Mafia stuff.
Have you ever been to the cemetery in Yorktown Mall?
You've told me about it. I've been to Yorktown Mall plenty of times. I actually go to Yorktown Mall for the Yankee Candle because it's a non-busy. It's either I go there or the one in Darien. But Yorktown Mall Yankee Candle is good, but that's becoming a dead mall, which is kind of
it's eerie. Pretty soon, it feels like.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a. Is it built? Would you say it was built over a cemetery?
No, there's a cemetery just in the parking lot. It's right next to the Capitol Grill.
Oh yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Interesting. Yep. It's an interesting area.
Yep. Lots of fun.
That Target.
So have you guys done a lot of ghost hunting yourselves?
Oh. I've never been hunting. I've gone on a haunted tour, but because I'm so much of a skeptic, I've never gone to a place like, let's look for ghosts. I'm going to turn on my MP3 player.
I did a few times.
not throwing shade if you're all into that. I know where a lot of our listeners and viewers are probably like that, but I feel like I don't believe it enough to want to do it personally. But I'm not taking away from if that's something that you like to do as a hobby.
I did it a few times.
I have one experience. I was going to say, I have one experience that I'll share that was Old Veteran Cemetery in Idaho that wasn't on this list, but I was there with a lady who actually did the ghost tours for Tombstone, the one that came to my old house that I kind of talked to you guys about before. And we were there, and I was standing by a grave, and the grave was just kind of like, almost felt like it was speaking to me. And she goes, what is he saying to you? And I was like, who, right? And she was snapping photos and stuff. And I was just kind of like, okay, just weird feeling, whatever. But when she got them developed, there was it almost looked like smoke in front of me. And there was no smoke when I was there. But there was like this mist in front of me on the photo. And it was a paper photo and I lost it. So I wish I had it still, but
maybe some
ectoplasm. All my evidence is gone because it disappeared in all my moves.
Wow.
Maria, have you ever done any ghost hunting?
Not deliberately. It was like whenever I go to
accidentally.
No, just like whenever I go to historical places, I always wondered like what could be here. And like sometimes you can tell like if the energy is off, if like something like a corner or something's like looks like I shouldn't go there. Or
do you feel like you're sensitive to that energy since you kind of are thinking about it?
Sometimes, like Tim said, you kind of have to like open yourself for that, because sometimes it's just at the back of your mind, you don't really think about it, and then like if you're actually like wondering, then like I think you start feeling or noticing things that you wouldn't have before. So
Colin, do you want to tell us about your ghost hunting in Savannah?
Yeah. I did it a couple times. Mostly I was at a bar. They said the bar was haunted, and we broke upstairs and there was just a guy eating a sandwich on a couch.
That's pretty spooky.
It was. I hope it was a good sandwich. We scared the hell out of him.
What kind of sandwich was it?
I don't know. It looked like a sub sandwich.
Like a club like a hoagie?
Like Subway or something.
Just
one light bulb on above him too. That was
You don't even know what's in that meat.
He could have been a ghost. I don't know.
I have never gone anywhere deliberately to ghost hunt. Like I will go places that are rumored to be haunted just to go check out that place, you know, take a tour or whatever, but I've never intentionally gone ghost hunting. I have enough experiences on accident. I don't need to go looking for them.
I'm trying to think like what would be better. I go to a place to ghost hunt anticipating a ghost, or like I go to a place that might be haunted and then it happens accidentally. Like what do you think could be better?
For peace of mind afterwards, probably like
The anticipation?
expecting it.
Expecting
yeah.
ghost?
I was going to say the opposite, just because then it's like bonus. It wasn't any bias or preconceived
Yeah,
notion.
there you go.
Now
Yeah.
that's a
No
good point.
confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the second one as well, as long as it like doesn't go back with me.
Yeah.
It has to stay where it was.
So this is a fun fact about me. At one point when I was around like 2008 or 2009, I really didn't know if I was going to get into like another serious committed relationship at the time. I was coming off of a really bad breakup. But I did start dating someone, and I told that person, I was like, maybe it'd be cool to be an exorcist. She's like, absolutely not. Do not do that. You're going to bring shit home. I'm like, all right, cool. So like there is something to be said about potentially bringing something home, right? I would be the idiot that probably would do that too, I feel like.
I'm
I've
also
had people that
scared
said they
of
wouldn't
that.
come over if I had a Ouija board in my house. So yeah.
I would come over. I'd be more likely to come over if we could Ouija board, Tim.
All right.
Well,
We'll take one to
Can
group
we?
outing.
Yeah, let's
Can
do
we? Who's down to Ouija board at Tim's house? Let's get a hands over here. Okay, so the guys are doing the Ouija board at Tim's, and then we're gonna visit Kay and Maria after. Hopefully, we'll bring something with us to
No.
their
it.
location.
Hey, if you name it, it'll never leave you alone. So we better come up with a good name.
Oh,
Maria and I are going to be ready to just like cleanse you guys.
yeah.
you got some holy water ready to go.
Yeah. We're just going to pull out all the stops for that. No, thank you.
You got like the prayers on the frame of the doors you walk in, the holy water.
Yeah.
Got mass
all of
on in
it.
the background. Good stuff. Sage burning on
All
the
of
stove.
it.
Smudges.
Every single thing.
Smoking up the house.
Yep. But do not. I've heard of people like paranormal investigators that have done their investigation, and they come home and they're like, oh, there's something in my house now. No. You stay where you're at.
What do you think? I mean, if you didn't have the means to like have holy water or something, do you think there's words that you could say to a ghost or something that followed you home to just get them to back off? Like, what do you say? That's my purse. I don't know
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I don't really have anything to base this on, but I think depending on the entity, it really comes down to like authority. You know, if you say, this is my house, you are not welcome here, you must leave, and you say it with authority. I think if it's just your average run-of-the-mill spirit, it might listen to you. If it's something a little darker, a little more sinister, you might
It's gonna
have
want
to
to latch on harder.
You're gonna have to step stuff up, I think. But
In my opinion, when it's like more interactive stuff like that, like actually following you, actually like kind of in like ways kind of tormenting you, like it can't just be a regular ghost. It has to be something darker. So.
yeah. But then you also have to figure out too, are we talking something like demonic? Are we talking something spiritual, as in like elemental?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Isn't
those
it pretty wild? Like, you don't actually know. There's not a good way to prove it. Like, you could, let's say you think that, you know, maybe like you have a relative that passed away in the house and you're like, oh, that's just Uncle Pete. But actually,
Right.
it's not Uncle Pete at all. It's like a demon, but it's pretending to be Uncle Pete. Like, that to me, that's pretty, it's a lot more scary than
Right.
just knowing
How
outright.
I base it off is like if you think it's a family member, but then like you're feeling scared, then like a family member wouldn't do that to you.
Uncle Pete was kind of scary,
Unless
though,
they
Maria.
didn't
It
like
depends
you.
on the family member.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're dealing with some of the stuff like we've talked about on the show that's more elemental, you know, dermis pedestrian, or, you know, some of the other stuff that we talked about, I don't think pulling.
Dermis
Yeah, I won't say the real thing.
Yeah, no.
But pulling out like the power of Christ compels you is not going to work on that type of thing, I don't think. So you're going to have to do something elemental. I think you have to figure out what it is and then combat it with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like for that, like what you're talking about, like you would have to like, speak with like some like Navajo people and like how do they deal with it,
Yeah.
So.
If it's a person, you can talk to them like it's a person. If it's something demonic, more religious, you got to go more the religious route. If it's elemental, you got to go elemental. You got to figure out what it is first to get rid of it. But I am also kind of talking out of no experience here, so.
That's my favorite kind of talking. That's why I started this podcast. All right, guys, we're rolling up quick on the hour. Do we want to start getting into final thoughts? Who wants to go first?
No, I'll go first. I'll say it. I've been to Idaho a few times, and I've always enjoyed the state. And it'd be cool to go back and do like see more of the darker side of the state. See some haunted stuff, and even if we don't encounter a ghost firsthand, it'd still be cool to go and experience the history that creates the legends, so to speak.
Late Night Legends. You said the thing.
Oh,
all right, great.
Roll credits.
Roll credits.
Catchphrase.
I will say that I've been to Idaho. You guys have a great theme park, a couple good water parks. I feel bad for my man Joe. This poor guy is just trying to hang out in the afterlife, and he's just being told he's stinky. It's not a very good way to rest in peace. And I think really a lot of stuff stays behind with energy. You can tell even with alive people, sometimes you can walk into a room and you can just feel the energy is off. And I think energy is a big component in all this stuff. And I wish that we had a paranormal measuring device that could actually pick up human energy and see if we could use that to measure non-human energy.
That'd be really awesome. Who hasn't given their final thought yet? Maria, have you given your final thought?
I have not. Yeah, I kind of want to go to Idaho now and like experience these places. And yeah, just, sometimes like with the prison guy, like being stuck there, I mean, I guess he got what was coming to him. He's stuck there.
He's hanging around.
Hang in there. All right, Tim, what you got for us?
I think whether you believe in ghosts or not, Idaho's got some of the most chilling locations. If you get a chance, definitely go check it out. If any of you have been there, any of our viewers have been there, leave comments. Love to hear your stories. If you have any other locations in Idaho that you feel are haunted, or any other things that you've heard, I'd love to hear them as well and see if there are any that I've heard, and we can go back and forth in the comments. So
wonderful. So I'll take us out. I want to thank Tim for his very first topic. It was definitely a banger. I'm not sure myself. So like, I know Maria said that she'd love to visit, but I'm not sure if that makes me want to visit more or less. But I will say that if you're there, Tim, I'll want to visit more. And I would want to Ouija board with you regardless. So I would say that definitely some cool stories. I feel like the best stories are always entrenched in historical meaning. It's these random ghosts that people say that they encounter. Like, I feel like those are pretty baseless. But when you say, oh, this is the story behind it, here's the theater, here's this is this guy that died, and this is why this might be here. These are the stories that actually, I feel like if there are stories that are real, those would be the real ones, personally. I have still yet to really experience anything that would convince me, but I think it'd be pretty awesome if something happened along the way with this show where I do get convinced. And when that happens, if that happens, I'll let you all know. But with that being said, thank you so much to Tim for presenting. Thanks for everybody for joining us tonight. I want to just do a quick little reminder here that if you'd like to interact with us, you can leave a comment down below here after the fact. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the like button if you like what we're doing, and the subscribe. And if you want to be alerted when we put out new content, bell notifications.
Now we're talking my language.
things that we edit out and post. If you want to listen to us after the fact, if you're more into audio, because I know Spotify is actually video and audio, but if you want pure audio, you can find us in many places. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music also offers podcasts, Google Podcasts. I think that's all of them, but pretty much anywhere that you'd find a podcast, you can find us. And if you want to visit our website, that'd be awesome. Our website is latenightlegends.boo. There's a little contact form if you want to talk to us there. But honestly, in the description of this video, there's going to be a link to our Discord community where we would love to have a little chat with you if you're interested in literally interacting with any one of us. We're all on there pretty much. I don't want to say we're on there all day, but some of us are, like myself, pretty much on there all day. And I would say, like, if you want to get it, if you want to say something, you want to say hi to me, like me or Kay, we'll probably respond in 2 minutes. But if you want to say hi to like Tim and Maria or Colin, maybe a couple of days. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for telling a friend. Thank you for helping your landlady down the stairs with her groceries. Toss those out in the dumpster because it's cold outside. And we really appreciate you for that. We'll see you all next week. We're going to have a wonderful topic, and we'll see you all then. Take care of yourself. Bye.
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 Bye.